Yes, you. Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? This week's episode is brought to you by the First Years of Marriage newsletter, a newsletter about conversations, challenges, and changes that begin once the honeymoon ends. If you're somebody experiencing the first couple years of marriage, you're about to be a newlywed, or you're just curious about what the heck goes on after you tie the knot, check out the newsletter, www.thefirstyearsofmarriage.com. Hey, any youngers, it's me, your host, Jen Glantz, back with another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. Here we are, my friends, on the quest to hit our 200th episode. We're almost there. We're climbing up and up and up, closer to that number. We're also climbing closer and closer to 200 reviews. You know that is like my ultimate goal for 2021. Help a girl out. If you are listening to this on the Apple Podcast app, or you know where you can find the Apple Podcast app, open it up, scroll down, give us some 5 stars, write us a review. All of that means so much to me. I've been podcasting for quite some time, and every single review just keeps me going. So thank you so much for supporting the show, and thank you for being here today. I'm feeling in a really good mood lately, and a lot of that is because, well, I've been spending a lot of time with friends, and I haven't seen my friends in a very long time. I have friends that live all over the country, even friends that live in New York City, but because of the pandemic, I just haven't seen them. And this past week especially, I spent a lot of time with friends. I had dinner with someone I hadn't seen in months at our favorite restaurant in Brooklyn. A friend who recently moved across the country came to visit, and we spent pretty much every day together, which felt so cool. I also went to a handful of workout classes with another friend who lives in my neighborhood, and FaceTimed one of my favorite people. That was like a lot of friend stuff in 1 week, and I noticed that it completely shifted my overall mood. I've been feeling really, really upbeat. That's because friendship and I have this really unsettling relationship. I've never been somebody who has a group of friends, and I'm rarely the kind of person who has like a super close friend. So I find myself, when I have this infusion of being around people I love and adore, I feel so grateful for it, because I feel like every now and then I meet someone I jive with. And then I just try to hold on to that person for as long as I can. And I just feel really happy with the people I have in my life right now, and being able to not only have those people, but to have these really deep, honest conversations that are also really funny makes me feel whole again. I'm feeling just really good, not only about the people, but where I'm at in being able to be so open and honest with people these days. It just makes me feel like I can rise to the occasion and be myself and have a lot of fun at it. I want to talk about the word fascinating today. I recently heard a question in a script writing class that I was taking. The teacher asked us all to write down 5 things that fascinated us. And I honestly had no idea how to answer that question. When someone asks you, hey, what fascinates you? That is so intimidating and hard to figure out what to say. I honestly spent a couple minutes thinking through that question, and I had nothing to write down. So I shut my camera off, I pressed the mute button, and I walked into the kitchen and decided to eat chocolate pudding. And there was where I found Adam. And I said, Adam, what fascinates you? Because the perks of living with someone, by the way, is asking them the questions that you cannot answer yourself, but you wish you had an answer to. And Adam, who is so upbeat and cheery, he spent a few seconds digesting the question, and he instantly spit out his list as if he was asked that question before, even though he was not ever asked that question before. And he started naming off everyday things like walking around the neighborhood, waking up next to Goofy, and I cut him off before he could continue. I said to him, those things are not fascinating. Those are boring, everyday things you enjoy. There's a difference. The word fascinating is this big, huge thing. It's what keeps you up at night. It's what makes you sweat with energy and excitement. And Adam just sort of rocked his head back and said, "No, Jen, those are the things that fascinate me. Like, those are what I care about." I felt frustrated by his answer. I felt even more frustrated by my lack of answers, and I walked back to my desk. I turned on my camera and I got back to my class. And I listened to what people had to say. People shared their random lists. They said things like art, Brooklyn history, watching their kids grow up, the business of movie theaters, how birds migrate, childbirth. The things they said were so random, but also so specific and sort of funny to hear. It made me keep thinking about all of the different interests people have, and a question like that lets you see just the dynamicness of a person. But who was I to judge, right? Like, I thought their answers were funny. I thought Adam's answers weren't good enough, but I couldn't judge that because I couldn't even name anything that fascinated me. When the teacher asked me to answer that question, I literally said nothing. I said, "Nothing in the world fascinates me." And the teacher said, "Jen, that's not true." So me, in my stubborn Aries kind of way, just shot back, "Fine, teacher, everything fascinates me. Everything in this world fascinates me, and I'm struggling to come up with a list." The teacher pretty much said, "Jen, don't put pressure on this. This is just a question, right?" But Jen, me, I take questions and I make them just like the end of the world. I need to know the answer to them. The teacher just said, "Write down what you care about, what you enjoy, what you would do or think about or want to experience if you had a free hour of your day." When I thought about it like that, it took the pressure off of answering that question. And I definitely apologize to Adam for reading his list to me and me completely writing it off. But what fascinates us explains so much about us. It's what can help you figure out what to spend more time doing, how to make your life fun again when it seems boring, and even how multidimensional you really are. Sometimes I feel like everything fascinates me. I really do. I mean, just looking around my room right now, I'm fascinated by how Goofy sleeps so peacefully. I'm fascinated by the leaves on the tree shaking outside the window. I'm just fascinated by this glass of water that I have sitting here. But the truth is that I'm not fascinated by everything. I'm fascinated with something very simple: how short life is and how much pressure I put on myself to figure it all out, to get the most out of it, not to waste my own time. That's what I'm fascinated by. There you go. That's number 1 on my list. But what about you? What, my friend, fascinates you? Until next time, all my love, Jen Glantz. Hey you! Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.